We now come to the last race of the weekend, and closing out the show will be DD2 Masters. So here is your final grid out of the 29 races that we've had this weekend. So Dennis Thum and Daniel Schollenberger will start on the front row in the 5:44 and the 5:22 respectively. Timo Haug in the 5:07 and Klaus Barnett in the 5:02 complete the top two rows. Marco Winkler in the 5:66 and Andreas Frenzel complete the top six. Stefan Krabo in the 555 and Konrad Bayer in the 508s complete the fourth row. Rounding out the top 10 will be Falco Birkholz in the 520 with Daniel Yildiz in the 572 from FM Racing, completing the top 10 with Daniel Schultz in the 524, completing the 11 strong grid. "14 minutes on the clock set for one final time, plus an additional lap. Red lights are on the starting gantry. So round the final corner come the 11 DD2 Masters drivers. They split, they go into the tram lines. Revs rise for the final time this weekend. Lights out and away we go. Great start by Timo Haug up into second before we've even hit the first main corner, as Dennis Thum leads the way. Side by side for third position, briefly, between Daniel Schollenberger and Klaus Barnett as Marco Winkler goes up the inside of the 502 for the next corner. Tries to go through all the pair, nearly touch. Oh, there's a bit more clashing behind, and I think that might have been Stefan Krabo possibly that was compromised as a result of that. No, it might have even been Andreas Frenzel, as Konrad Bayer now trying to go side by side and goes very wide indeed, allowing the rest of the... And we've just had, that is the 555 of Stefan Krabo, that had a little bit, I think that was a little bit of an they nearly came together, I think. But the left-hand side pod of Krabo's kart looking very second-hand. 13 minutes and 7 seconds plus an additional lap still to go. Dennis Thum leads from Timo Haug by 0.237 of a second. Just behind is Daniel Schollenberger. Top three were covered by just under half a second last time around. Marco Winkler now up into fourth ahead of Andreas Frenzel. Klaus Barnett in sixth place in the 502 as Schollenberger goes on the offensive up the inside of Timo Haug and nearly gets through, but Haug from FM Racing manages to keep the position. Schollenberger right on the back bumper of the 507 as they go through the final chicane on the circuit, heading towards the double right-hander that will bring them around to complete lap number 2. Dennis Thum did have a 0.237 second advantage coming across the start-finish line when we completed lap number 1. Lap 2 now done and dusted. 0.460 between the pair. Marco Winkler has got past Daniel Schollenberger in the meantime, up into third place. Goes the 566. So Andreas Frenzel in the 503 rounds out the top 5. Klaus Barnett, Falco Birkholz, Daniel Schultz, Daniel Yildiz, Konrad Bayer and Stefan Krabo are still battling away, as Daniel Schultz trying to get past Daniel Yildiz, can't get past, and now has Konrad Bayer in the 508 from RS Competition for close company. And these three are battling over what is now 8th position. As Bayer trying to go up the inside towards the penultimate right-hander, can't get through. Leaders cross the line onto lap number 4. Dennis Thum now has a 0.629 second advantage over Timo Haug. Marco Winkler, Andreas Frenzel and Klaus Barnett now ahead of Daniel Schollenberger. The 522 driving down the order. And that car, now I'm wondering whether he has an issue, Schollenberger, because that car is not up to full racing speed. Has he got a technical problem? Yes, he is slowing. It looks like Daniel Schollenberger might decide to park the kart on lap number 4 of the race, which would be a real shame. He took second in the heavily wet weather affected race earlier on, as Daniel Yildiz now goes up the inside of the 522. Konrad Bayer will now try and filter past. I think he's just letting the field pass and get into the pit lane very, very shortly. But Schollenberger trying to see if he can sort out the problem on the go. And Schollenberger's lap was a 56.535, and the leaders are lapping in the 51. Well, Dennis Thum has just done the fastest lap of the race of 51.3. So I think that kart is not fully functioning. So there must be a problem, and when you are that far off of the leaders, that's nearly 5.3 seconds off pace. So Dennis Thum now extends the lead over Timo Haug to just over a second, as we have 9 3/4 minutes plus an additional lap still to go. Thum leads, Haug in second, Winkler in third. And Winkler has just gone nearly 0.2 of a second quicker than Timo Haug, and the gap between them now is just under 8 tenths. So Daniel Schollenberger looks to be gaining some pace now, up to a 54.831 on that last lap. So whether the kart is starting to come back to the 522, but I think he's just going to ride out the storm, and whether what happens as Daniel Yildiz trying to go up the inside of Falco Birkholz and gets past. Konrad Bayer now trying to look to see to get past the 520. A spirited drive from the 572 from FM Racing. One of the nicest guys, if not the nicest guy in the paddock. As Konrad Bayer now looking to get past Daniel Schultz. Great battle down the further part of the order, as now Konrad Bayer gets into the slipstream coming out of the final corner and pulls out to the right-hand side. Up the inside of Schultz goes Konrad Bayer, and had actually broke the timing beam. Falco Birkholz, he broke the timing beam 76 thousandths behind the 520. And now Bayer will start chasing down Daniel Yildiz, and this is for 6th position. And I'm just keeping an eye on Daniel Schollenberger, who is still running in the 54.8, so I think he's just going to run to the end, or as far as the kart will be able to take the 522, because at the very least, Schollenberger will score points. And now I'm just keeping an eye on the lap times between Daniel Yildiz and Konrad Bayer, and what's more, the 572 is actually quicker by nearly 1/10 of a second. 0.082 is the difference in the favour of Daniel Yildiz, and the gap between the pair now 0.7 of a second. But the gap still between Timo Haug in second and Marco Winkler in third place is about 0.77 of a second. Haug was quicker on that lap by nearly 0.3 of a second. A 51.260 from Timo Haug and a 51.531 from Marco Winkler, as the three leaders have now crossed the line, and Marco Winkler goes faster than anybody by nearly, he goes quicker than Timo Haug by nearly 1/10 of a second, and pips Dennis Thum for the fastest lap of the race by 7 thousandths. And now Daniel Yildiz is starting to being reeled in by Konrad Bayer, who has gone 1/10.5 quicker, 0.153 to be more precise, as we are now onto lap number 9. 6.5 minutes still remain of the race here in racing action here in Muelsen for the first round of the 2020 Rotax Max Challenge Germany season. Dennis Thum still striding away in the 5:44 from Kartsport Klim. Timo Haug and now Marco Winkler are less than 0.5 of a second, half a second between them. Winkler again puts in the fastest lap of the race at 51.103. Dennis Thum nearly gets exactly the same lap time, but was 0.4 of a second slower at 51.107. So Winkler is closing significantly in the latter stages. So seems to might have conserved a little bit of energy and also maybe a bit of tyre rubber as well. But also the fact that Tanju Yildiz and Konrad Bayer still about just over half a second between them at the minute. Consistently on lap times at the moment, Konrad Bayer is slightly quicker, but not by much. 5 minutes and 20 still to go. We're on to lap number 11 as the 5:03 of Andreas Frenzel still remains in 4th place. Klaus Parnet in the 5:02 in 5th. Tanju Yildiz followed quickly by Konrad Bayer. The 5:20 of Falco Birkholz rounds out the top 8. Stefan Krabo now past Daniel Schulz for 9th position. As Daniel Schollenberger still running considerably off the pace, but still persisting. A 54.931. So looking just to conserve the car with the engine as much as possible, I think. So maybe a little bit significantly off the pace, but we'll still keep going. First, second and third have now crossed the line to go on to lap number 12. Marco Winkler still rounds out the top 3 for the minute. Frenzel in the 5:03 still 4th. Parnet in the 5:02 still 5th. Tanju Yildiz still keeping ahead and goes and puts in a 51.656, his best lap of the race. And that is considerably nigh on half a second quicker than Konrad Bayer, who just puts in a 52.1 dead. Birkholz a 55.562. Stefan Krabo manages a 51.622. But however, Dennis Thum now has the fastest lap of the race so far and has lapped within 100th of a second on the last 2. So on lap number 10 is 50.928, and then lap 11 50.938. A 51.0 from the leader, 2.336 seconds the gap between Thum and Haug. As Marco Winkler sets a personal best with a 51.077. As now, Tanju Yildiz starting to lap anywhere between a 51.656 and a 51.810 as we head into the final 3 minutes. Plus an additional lap. Dennis Thum still leading. But Marco Winkler, in the meantime, trying to close up on second place driver Timo Haug in the dying stages of this race. As now the leader crosses the line to complete lap number 13. Let's have a look at the gap. Between second and third, the gap has now been slightly chipped away at 0.717 of a second. But Timo Haug, that particular occasion, was slightly quicker. So Tanju Yildiz now has a 1.1 second gap between himself and Konrad Bayer in 7th position. So now Dennis Thum looks to be getting closer and closer to lapping Daniel Schollenberger, who is his main antagonist last time out in the rain-affected race. The gap now between first and second, as Dennis Thum now has a 2.393 second advantage over Timo Haug. Marco Winkler now running a bit out of time, I fear. to try and catch the 5:07 from FM Racing in the dying stages. Into the last 90 seconds we go. Stefan Krabo, in the meantime, has got past Falco Bergholz. Daniel Schollenberger has called time on the race. Or has he? No, he's just let everyone past. So a 57.633. I think what Schollenberger is doing is just limping the cart across the finish line. Just conserving it as much as possible to ensure a points finish. So Marco Winkler looks to have settled for third position. The gap was 0.7. It's now just over a second between second and third. 2.3 seconds is the exact gap between Dennis Thum and Timo Haug. So we go on to the penultimate lap of the race weekend here at Arena E in Muelsen. And I'm just keeping an eye. It looks like on the timing screens that Stefan Krabau has pulled over to the side off of turn 5 and now will not finish the race. It's a real shame for the 555, having possibly suffered a little bit of damage to the kart earlier on in the contact, going into the back part of the circuit. But through the final chicane for the penultimate time comes Dennis Thum, the last lap board of the weekend being readied. So Dennis Thum in the 5.44 from Kartsport Klim gets the lap board that he needs. 1 lap to go. Timo Haug still in second. Marco Winkler in third place. Andres Frenzel now comes across the start-finish line. Start his last lap in 4th place as he passes around the outside of Daniel Schollenberger. Klaus Parnett in the Maranello chassis for Nice Racing in the 5.02 5th. Tanju Yildiz and Konrad Bayer are now 4/10 of a second apart in the battle for 6th place. So that could very well, if Konrad Bayer decides to go for it, he hasn't got long left. Falco Birkholz takes 8th place across the start-finish line to go on to the last lap. Meanwhile, the leader, dominance through day 2 here in Muelsen, Dennis Thum from Kartsport Klim, comes across the start-finish line to win the second race of the day. Took the points win yesterday on day 1. He finishes 2.296 seconds ahead of Timo Haug. Marco Winkler in 3rd place. Andreas Frenzel in 4th. Klaus Parnett in 5th. And Tanju Yildiz takes 6th ahead of Konrad Bayer. Daniel Schollenberger did cross the line a lap down in 10th place in the 5.22 as Falco Birkholz takes 8th. And Daniel Schultz rounds out the top 9 with Schollenberger finishing a lap down with Stefan Krabau, unfortunately not being able to compete in the race further than lap 14. But Dennis Thum wins in style and does the double here on day 2.